Shack House is presented by Callaway Golf, the #1 iron in golf. Their irons have a face built to change the game, to push the industry further and iron performance farther. If you're not playing an iron with Callaway's industry-leading 360 face cup technology, then you're playing inferior technology. Callaway, the #1 iron in golf. And a big thank you to our other sponsor, Harry's. Man, House, I am so glad that this is going to be a sponsor with us this week. I am a Harry's customer. I actually found out about them on a podcast. And they are a phenomenal operation. There's a reason, House, that their only products in the drugstore locked inside a plexiglass case. They're too expensive, and they're a total ripoff. When you stop and think about it, it's because razors are overpriced, and people actually are more likely to steal them than any other product in the store. That's why I love Harry's. They are beautifully made and affordable. They're high-quality German-engineered blades for a close, comfortable shave, no cuts or burns. They sell these blades at factory direct prices, shipping directly to your home, half the price of leading brands. They come in the most beautiful packaging. Everything is just so awesomely done, and I love all their products. Over 1 million guys have made the switch. Thousands more switch every day. The Harry's starter set called the Truman, which is how I started out, is an amazing deal. For $15, you get a razor, moisturizing shave cream. They have an awesome shave cream, 3 razor blades. Harry's will give you $5 off your first purchase with the promo code HOUSE. Go to harrys.com right now. That's harrys.com. Make sure you use the code HOUSE at checkout to let them know who sent you, and you will absolutely not regret using Harry's.
Welcome to the Shack House Pod. This is Bill Simmons. I'm crashing the Shack House Pod for at least the first part of it. As always, Jeff Shackelford and Joe House are on the line, but they're calling, or they are, what's the right word? Recording? Speaking from Augusta, Georgia, where the Masters are. How are you, fellas?
Great.
Outstanding.
House.
Although I'm a little hungry.
I was going to say, there's some good food in Georgia, I've heard. So, we wanted to run this as a BS podcast, and thought it would be weird if I wasn't on it. So I'm just going to be on it for like the first 12 minutes. I really wanted to talk to both of you guys, though, about the Tiger Woods Sports Illustrated article, which got me thinking about Tiger Woods for the first time in a while. And then 2 days later, he announced he wasn't playing Augusta. Jeff, start with you. Tiger Woods. What happened to Tiger Woods?
Oh, Bill. No,
yeah.
That's why it took Alan Shipnuck 6,000 words to get to the point. I would say, number one, obviously, the scandal kind of broke him mentally. The back stuff was, it's probably a product of numerous things, starting with maybe having Dr. Galea help with the back before, and maybe not helping the back anymore with his magic potion kit. The cruelty of golf and the hideousness of the golf swing on the back. But he's a broken guy. The scandal humiliated him. He is still angry at golf writers who weren't the ones writing George Lopez's jokes and Jay Leno's jokes every night. But for some reason, he hates us. Like, he just had another Friday news dump about not playing in the Masters last week. Perfect example, just kind of like his way to stick it to the 8 people who still have to write a story on Friday night about him. So he's very bitter about that. Understandably, it was a humiliating thing. But he's letting it linger to the point where I think it's probably still not exactly helping him recover from his back issues.
House, is it like a child actor? Too much too soon?
I don't think it was too much too soon. It was more of like a lack of experience in one certain aspect of his life, right? He's a smart guy. He's an accomplished athlete. He accomplished a whole bunch of things in his life, and then got around to the connecting with the fairer sex portion of his life, and didn't really have a roadmap for handling that. And whatever example his father set appears to have not been the best. So it's funny that that's the thing that derailed him. Seems to have derailed him. And obviously the health issues are also figure prominently in there. But it occurred at a weird time in his life. He had the world by the tail. I mean, he was the most recognized athlete. He was in Michael Jordan's rarefied air in terms of worldwide, media marketing, promotion dominance, and the whole thing, drove off the side of the road one Thanksgiving night.
So, the thing I liked about that SI piece, and I don't think anyone's written the right Tiger piece yet, the kind of with some distance piece, that had a lot of elements that I thought were important to put together in the same story. You mentioned the Tiger Woods and his dad, and how his dad was just a legendary hound and was out there all the time. And when you're close to your dad, that's the role model, So that's one problem. There was a whole section in that article that seemed to be written very carefully about how Tiger put on 20 pounds of muscle and how he was jacked and he had unbelievable energy and an unbelievable workout regimen and all of a sudden wanted to be a Navy SEAL and there's that famous Sports Illustrated cover of him with the, flexing his bicep, and he was just jacked. And I'm not sure that guy's body was meant to be that way. Now, I don't want to speculate on maybe how it got that way, although there's some interesting Google results that seem to suggest certain things. But I think he put on too much weight, and it just seemed like he moved toward by 2008, he's in just this he's like a volcano, he's like this, he's got all this muscle, he's feeling great about himself, he's kicking everyone's ass, he's hooking up with all these ladies all over the place, and it was like watching somebody in a fictional movie headed for a crash. But my question to you, Jeff, physically, the knee injury that he had, couldn't you maybe we're overthinking all of this, and maybe that knee injury, it's just impossible to come back from that as a golfer?
Well, first of all, he's got a vanity thing about his legs. He has tiny legs, so that drove part of the upper body stuff. But
wait a second, hold on. What do you mean he's got vanity?
He's got little scrawny legs? He's got very scrawny legs, and he feels he's very insecure about him. But he's able to add weight on his upper body, so that's part of the reason he did that. And he did it also. Obviously, the ladies liked it, and it gave him an aura. Bill, he had an intimidation factor with the other players as an athlete that he rode, and once he lost that, it changed everything for him. Kind of when you're around the other guys, and they're not scared of you anymore, and that's what that really started to happen. I mean, when Y.E. Yang is staring him down, that was sort of the sign when he had to kind of resort to gamesmanship and different stuff, standing behind him while he's putting, and that was kind of when the aura started to go. And then obviously the personal life stuff was starting to happen too. But I also love, the personal life thing was a distraction, Bill. Now he has so much time to think about everything, and for a golfer to have a distraction, and even if the distraction are Jocelyn James's text messages, and they're kind of weird, it got his mind off of thinking about golf. And when he lost that combined with the aura and then the body starting to fall apart, it was just a triple whammy. And then the humiliation factor of being caught. I just don't think he's ever recovered from kind of the anger and bitterness of that.
So you don't believe that just physically, once he had that knee reconstructed and he keeps having issues with it, then his back starts to go. Yeah, there has to be something to the fact that the guy's just a mess physically. He's only 40. Well, he's also, but he's a little bit of a hypochondriac. I mean, he's kind of, I don't even know if that's the right definition, but he's always had. Jason Day now has it too in golf. They just, every little ailment they treat like the end of the world. Right.
And he had that he's always had that. I mean, you ask the people who know him, that's just kind of always been the thing. They go, oh boy, here we go, another flare up.
House, we always talk about how invincible Steph Curry is and how the shooting and just we've never seen this guy's the greatest shooter ever and all that stuff. And then you see, reading that story reminded me of just how fucking unbelievable Tiger was. Like he was just the shot making, the putts, the putt in the dark in the President's Cup, the drives. We had that whole discussion about whether we'd have to change the Masters course for him. It's a little like what's happening with Curry now with the shooting, and it makes me wonder, like, maybe he just did get knocked out of that frame of mind. So could Steph Curry get knocked out of this frame of mind? Like, imagine Steph Curry just becomes a 38% shooter.
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. Steph.
Okay.
Steph
good,
is,
because I was worried.
I think sort of physically, I don't see Steph having the kind of physical ability to sustain what he's doing right now over a 5 to 7 to 9 year period. I think we're going to get hopefully at least another 2 years of it. But the half-life in basketball is so much shorter than in golf. I mean, part of Tiger's aura and the dominance that became its own like repeat loop was him doing it so repeatedly and so emphatically for like 10 years, longer than 10 years.
But Jeff, like you brought it up before, like the guy was so unbelievably competitive. Like even Jordan, and you see even Kobe now. Like Kobe last night, we're taping this on a Monday. Kobe plays the Celtics last night. He's like, oh, I'm beating the Celtics tonight. He turns into competitive Kobe, even though his body's not cooperating anymore. He takes 28 shots in 33 minutes, and he's still competitive. Like I always thought competitiveness was a quality that just didn't die, that just you always had. No, you're almost like irrational about it. It's how like almost like an actress or a model who's in their 60s who's not beautiful anymore still carries themselves like a beautiful person. I didn't know competitiveness could go away. Have you ever seen, like, what is the parallel for this with Tiger in golf where a guy just lost it?
Nobody as great as he was has gone probably downhill this much. But if you look at most of the careers of golfers, they have about a 20-year window, Bill. They always hit a peak. The guys who played in college hit a peak at about 45, and then they just sort of they need about 5 years, and then all of a sudden they perk up for the Champions Tour. He obviously turned pro at 20, and so he has hit that 20-year mark. Obviously, he hit it a little earlier, but I think he could get it back. I mean, that was the best thing about this sort of the back surgeries aren't great, but the time away kind of will help him if there's any hope to sort of get the energy again. But you can just only sustain that so long. And he sustained it for a pretty incredible amount of time. And when you think about golf, it's year-round. You know, the NBA, those guys can shut it down for a while. They don't really ever shut it down in golf, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And there's just a point where you're going to have a burnout. You're going to have a moment like he's had. And now I think this is kind of exciting, actually, that he'll step away. And I don't understand this whole thing, though, of like dangling this that I'm going to play the Masters. There's no sign from anybody that he's practicing and working like he is. There's something there with his corporate partners. He's trying to keep them happy, or maybe he's just trying to keep it in his mind that he is going to be coming back soon. But I do miss the kind of cranky Tiger, like the fiery Kobe, you know, the guy who didn't care what people thought. And I don't know if he can get that back. That's going to be tough.
It sounds like he's training for esports more than anything. Couldn't you say Greg Norman after that last Masters when he just completely self-destructed and Faldo won? That only tournament I ever remember where the guy who won the major actually just felt bad for the other guy and wasn't even celebrating. Yeah. Norman was never the same after that. Like, isn't that kind of a parallel or no?
I'm just saying Norman was psychological. Tiger's body broke. I mean, what happened to Tiger? It's a 3-word story. His body broke. He's been fighting injuries, like serious injuries, since 2008, and it took all the way up until this year, it seems, for him to finally develop a serious game plan for taking the proper amount of time off and for really rehabbing, not rushing back, not being stubborn about it, and having an organized approach to getting back on the golf course and maybe competing at a high level again. That's how to me, that's how he came up with all these fits and starts over the last handful of years. And part of Tiger's game plan was validated. He won 5 times as recently as, was it 3 years ago, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't say his approach has been an abject failure, but you know, if there is any juice left in the juice box, this approach that he's taking right now seems like the best way to squeeze it out.
But Jeff, you think it's a little more psychological than House does?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, there's so much going on with his psyche that's just broken, and the stuff with the back, and some of the back blowouts on the course. I had no problem at the time questioning that they they were fake. I mean, there was one where he was having a back spasm at Firestone, and he started doing the kind of the really dramatizations of it all, and then he went right to the car in the parking lot, drove right by the physio trailer where there's two guys, with the strongest hands you can possibly get who could kind of like work it out. He went right to the car and went to the airport. He did it at Torrey Pines, and those were times he just didn't want to be on the course. He was miserable. He didn't know where the ball was going. He's changed his swing a million times, and that wasn't physical. And a lot of people, I think, in hindsight now, kind of realize those days were faked. But it's hard to kind of believe that. But if you've ever kind of hit rock bottom in golf and you don't know where the ball's going, and I've hit that, but I never hit the peak that he hit. It's awful. It's an awful feeling, and I can't even imagine what it feels like for him. Once having controlled the ball so well, just controlled everything, just dominated everybody, and then just have it go to crap. It's got to be so depressing.
I remember like about a year, like maybe 6-7 months after the whole car crash thing happened, I wrote a piece about how I thought it was going to be tougher for Tiger to come back than it was for Ali to come back from his boxing exile, and everybody got mad. They were like, "How dare you compare that?" All that stuff, and my argument was really just, I think golf's a mental sport, and I think once that seesaw gets messed with and kicked and bounced around, and you get in your own head and your personal life is crashing and you've been humiliated and you have to change everything about what you're doing, my theory was that it was just going to be a lot tougher for somebody like him to come back and be to the same level than it was for somebody like Ali, where basically you train again, you get back in. Now, Ali was never the same physically after that exile, but his brain was the same, and he could see the same things, and he fought some of his best fights after. And I just wonder, like, even somebody like Tom Watson, remember when he started missing putts, and it just kind of snowballed, and he was never really the same, and it's like such a small thing. But I think when you get older, you take less chances. You're a little more cautious. You're a little more, you're second guessing yourself too much, and it can really spiral. And that's got to be part of what's going on with him, don't you think, Tiger?
Yeah. To me, though, as much as anything with Tiger, and it makes him a unique case in this singular respect, a big part of his dominance came from his intimidation. He made other golfers think that they could not beat him. And he sustained that for such a long period of time. When that, the Thanksgiving night glass shattering went down, that really was like cracking open the window to the rest of the golf world, and giving everybody a look in, like, hey, maybe this is our way in. Maybe this is how we're going to beat this guy.
Yeah, and the Y.E. Yang thing, I think, was a big thing, too. All right, let's quickly, we're going to audible to the Masters. I could talk about Tiger for 10 hours, but I don't want to hijack your pod. But I really enjoyed that. I wanted your take on that. Tiger, to me, he's in the short list of greatest athletes I've ever seen, and it's just staggering to me that it might be over. I really always thought there was going to be one more, some sort of comeback. It's just... We all keep waiting for that Saturday when it's like, Tiger's birdied the first 4 of the 5, and here it goes. And it's just the thought that actually might not happen is shocking to me. It really is.
Don't count him out yet. It was just 8 months ago, if that he was in the last tournament of the season, playing for the right to go play on in the FedEx Cup. I mean, he was leading the tournament, or he was second at the Wyndham down in North Carolina, right, Jeff?
Yeah, there's still hope, Bill. I mean, it can be an old man's game. The problem is it's just become kind of a young man's game of late. But this is the 30th anniversary of Jack's win, and he won at 46. But he just has to clear so much from his head, and that's the beauty of what he's doing now. Yeah, he can get it back. He can have a run. I know he's not going to beat Jack's record now. That's going to be really tough. But there could be life in the old Tiger one more time at Augusta.
God, can you imagine, like, in 2008, just that Tiger wouldn't break Jack Nicklaus's record? That had to have been like a minus 1,000 favorite to break that record. Like when he was like 32, he was already 3/4 of the way there. All right, Masters quickly, and then I'm gonna go. Phil Mickelson is 15-1. to win the Masters, and I don't know. I keep looking at him. I just like him. Talk me out of it.
House, since you've already shot him down on this, I'll take this one on the pod. There's nothing wrong with Phil at 15-1. It's just it's such a he should be about 25.
Okay.
I mean, there's plenty to love Bill. Don't get me wrong. He looks other than his face, he's got some sort of skin thing going on that's kind of weird. I don't know. He had a bad chemical peel or something.
Oh, no.
So he's a little self-conscious about that. Yeah, that's probably the only negative about Phil right now, because his swing looks phenomenal. He's tightened it up. The other thing to watch, it's a little goofy, and House and I discussed it last week. He likes to just absolutely ram about 3 and 4 footers, which isn't a really smart thing to do on these greens. But no, it's like he can kind of come in a little bit quietly right now, and while everybody's focusing on the young guys, he loves that kind of scenario. So it's absolutely the kind of course he knows he can hang around all day long, and then maybe make a run on Sunday. And no, I would not be shocked if he wins. But 15-1's right, House? That's not very sexy.
Yeah, you need much better odds than that. 25-1 makes a lot more sense. The other thing I saw with Phil, I loved his post tournament interview after Houston yesterday. It must have been last night. He said, well, I was kind of playing this golf course to the shots that I want to play at Augusta. I wasn't really playing this golf course to score on this golf course. I wanted to hit some shots and see how I felt about them here in Houston. Essentially saying, I was here this week to practice for the Masters, not here to win this tournament at all, and I still rattled off a 10 under. That's some big balls. That's some big Phil balls. I like that.
Yeah. Break them out, Phil.
Break them out, Phil.
Quickly, then I'm going to go. Here are a bunch of guys whose odds range between 25-1 and 50-1. And you tell me who you like out of all of these. I won't even tell you what the odds are for them, but they're between 25-1 and 50-1. Henrik Stenson, Justin Rose, Louis Oosthuizen, I can never say that one.
Yeah.
Carl Schwartz, or whatever his name is. Matsuyama. Well, I just watched the majors. I don't know how to pronounce the names. Patrick Reed, Brandt Snedeker, Danny Willett, Sergio Garcia, and Joaquin Phoenix, a.k.a. Zach Johnson. Who do you like out of that group?
I love Stenson the way he just played in Houston. He just lost to the great Jim Herman, which was a great story. Donald Trump saved his career, and Stenson played beautifully. He did exactly what he wanted to do. The only thing with him is how does he putt here, but he's had a few moments. He's a guy. Rose was the guy I was bullish on a while ago, but the short game's been kind of funky the last few weeks. But he did do a killer video with Niall Horan and Justin Timberlake on Sunday, going to surprise visit the kids at the drive, chip, and putt. So maybe he'll have some karma from that.
Nice. What do you like,
I'm
House?
looking for any angle, really.
I love Patrick Reed here this week. He is an Augusta State guy, so he's played this golf course. He's had a ton of top 10s already this season. Now, a bunch of them were in calendar year 2015. He hit a little bit of a slow stretch once the calendar flipped to 2016, but the last 3 tournaments have all been top 10s, and he's playing with a chip on his shoulder because folks don't include him in that top 4, and he's age-wise, right there with those guys, and he's got 4 wins. He had 3 wins before the age of 25 that put him in company like Tiger and some of the historical greats. I think he gets hot and stays hot. That's both his temperament and the way that he plays golf. I like him this week at the 40-1 delicious number.
I'm seeing 45-1. All right, those are 2 good recommendations. All right, before I go, can you tell me, so Louis Oosthuizen, how do you say that one?
Louis Oosthuizen works. I've heard Westhuizen. Yeah,
okay.
Oosthuizen works. Yeah, Louis.
Carl Schwartzel?
Charl.
Okay,
like almost like
remember.
Charo, but Charl.
Charo.
Yeah. Another South African. Yeah. Thrilling man. Really dynamic personality.
I was gonna say, not a stand-up comic.
No, he will not be. He will not be replacing Jimmy Kimmel anytime soon.
He makes Vijay Singh look like John Daly, and then Hideki Matsuyama. I got that one right.
You did. You nailed that. First try. It was awesome.
Great. Guys, it was a privilege and an honor, and I'm glad I didn't embarrass myself. The Shack House pod is turned over to you. House, try not to eat too much. Try not to... Does Jeff know the story about when you lay naked on a bathroom floor in Portland, Oregon?
Oh.
No, I'll share that with him at dinner tonight because I haven't eaten anything yet today, and I'm starving, and there's only one direction that can go in. Although I might hold out. We're going over to the grounds tomorrow. I have some pimento cheese sandwiches in my future.
House ate so much at the seafood place in Portland, and then also had Bloody Marys, that first of all, he disappeared from the table, and he was sitting in a phone booth that didn't have a phone. He was just sitting in there, like slumped in. I actually thought he'd been shot.
I needed a break.
But he was just there. He's in a semi-coma. And then he went back to his hotel, and he had so much blood in his body that he took all his clothes off. I wasn't here for this part, thank God. He took all his clothes off and lay on an ice-cold bathroom floor.
It was
face
blood.
down.
It was blood in my stomach. I needed to push it out to the other extremities. I thought the floor would help.
Anyway, that's your dinner partner for the next couple of days in Augusta. Enjoy it, fellas. I'm turning the pod over to you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, Bill Simmons.
All right. It's time for a little bit of a break from our friends from Callaway. We really appreciate everything they're doing for Shack House, as we do Bill. They've partnered, our friends at Callaway, with this week with YouTube trick shot gurus Dude Perfect. I don't know if you've heard of these guys. They got 9 million subscribers on YouTube, 17 million on Facebook. They have some serious pull house. And they put a Callaway Chrome Soft golf ball making its way through a 5-story Rube Goldberg machine that triggers some entertaining trick shots and shenanigans with Callaway's Chrome Soft ball, which has amazing soft feel but goes fast and long. Hey, and by the way, free shipping on Chrome Soft all month. Check out the video with Dude Perfect. These guys are so much fun. CallawayGolf.com/Dude Perfect. The first major of the year starts this week, and you can play 1 week fantasy golf for free at DraftKings.com. Just pick 6 golfers before the first tee times on Thursday morning. Stay under the salary cap. Rack up points for streaks, per hole performance, tournament finishes, and more. Outscore the competition, and you could win. Whether you're a master of golf or just ready to try a new fantasy sport, DraftKings brings the excitement of the game to a whole new level. With every monster drive and every made putt, bringing you closer to victory. And DraftKings has more fantasy golf. Choose from a variety of sports to showcase your winning skills. Millions of sports fans just like you have already discovered DraftKings. Now it's your turn. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Fantasy golf contests begin when tournaments tee off, and the next one starts Thursday morning. So hurry to DraftKings.com now to choose your golfers and play for free with promo code HOUSE. How about that, House?
Promo code HOUSE.
Enter promo code HOUSE to play for free now. Only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com. And we want to tell you about our other sponsor, SeatGeek. Frustrated trying to buy tickets online, House? Most sites have make it complicated, then they try to sneak in huge fees at checkout. That's why you need to try SeatGeek. Of course, if you're here at Augusta this week, you want to try SeatGeek just because you drive by those people on the street who are trying to sell tickets, and who needs that? SeatGeek's made it easier and straightforward than ever to buy and sell sport and concert tickets. House, I know you're going to be coming this week. Trust me, when you drive up Washington, you're going to see those desperate hawkers. You're going to feel for the people who didn't use SeatGeek.
SeatGeek is the only way to go. I wouldn't trust any of those dudes out on the street.
I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and I just used it the other day to look at tickets for the Masters. Now, House, they aren't cheap, but you can get into practice rounds Monday and Tuesday for about half the price of a Sunday badge. Even Wednesday, par 3, it goes up a little bit because, of course, everybody wants to see the par 3 contest. Trust me, practice rounds are just fine. SeatGeek has taken all the work and hassle out of shopping for tickets. SeatGeek pulls all the tickets available on sites into one place so you can save time and never miss a deal. You can either set alerts for upcoming games, and SeatGeek will let you know if ticket prices fall. Even better, every ticket on SeatGeek is given a grade based on value so you can immediately find underpriced seats. And before you buy, you can use SeatGeek's detailed maps to see the view of your seat. Of course, at the Masters, you'll be sitting on a nice piece of beautiful ryegrass turf, and it'll be all very comfortable and all sorts of fun stuff to buy inside the gates, including those pimento cheese sandwiches. House, don't even touch that. Best of all, SeatGeek is always honest and upfront about the price. Unlike StubHub, SeatGeek shows you the full ticket price from start to finish and never surprises you with huge fees at checkout. Our listeners get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the free SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, and click add a promo code. Enter promo code HOUSE, another promo code HOUSE. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you made your first ticket. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter promo code HOUSE today. All right, so we've got the Masters. We've got the NBA draft this summer. We love this new slogan, the Green Room Guys, that ESPN's calling people. Green Room Guys, Green Room this. Then you got your second-round picks, and you got your invitations to camp, right, House? Your free agents, your D-League guys. Let's try to figure out who our Green Room golfers are. Who's going to be wearing that hot suit and shaking hands with the commissioner at the Masters this year?
I love it.
You want me to throw out my Green Room guys?
Yeah, I want to hear your Green Room guys.
I got a dozen. All right, these are the only people who can win the Masters, to be brutally blunt. Jason Day, Adam Scott, Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy. In the Green Room, I'm going to include Mickelson, Stenson, Oosthuizen, Schwartzel, Fowler, Rose, and DJ. But I really like those first five. I just don't see the winner coming from somebody other than those five unless they get a screwy weather tee time deal. You like my Green Room group?
The only thing, did you say Spieth?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He's in my first five.
I have to turn up my
Day,
my
Scott,
hearing aid.
Watson, Spieth, and McIlroy. It sounds like a nice law firm.
It really does. You can blast right through it. So I don't have any argument with any of those 12. I agree that those are all appropriate Green Room candidates, and I don't have anybody really knocking on the door to bust in. You know, there isn't anybody climbing up the draft board based on recent performance that I would put in there, because the tournaments so far this season have been won by major winners, all guys that are properly in the Green Room. So it may be boring, but the Green Room is right. Those are the top 12.
Yeah. Okay, so to kind of validate, I think, that point, here are my late first round picks. Snedeker, Zach Johnson, former winner, Matt Kuchar, Hideki Matsuyama, Bill Haas, Sergio Garcia. I mean, they all, I don't know, something magical could happen, and they might be right there at the end, but I have issues with every one of those players being able to play the course as we see it. And I got to tell you, House, the course, it's just fitting the Bombers again. It's lush as can be, man. You've got to bomb it out there.
Yeah, so you walked it this morning a little bit, and you felt the grass under your feet. Did it feel like they let the fairways grow up a little bit to favor the Bombers again?
Yeah. Yeah, so what they do, if people kind of wonder, like, they think I'm a little nuts when I say, the fairways aren't really as good at Augusta as they should be. The club got really tired of people hitting it too far. So the fairways are at a pretty normal mowing height for most golf courses, and then they mow them in one direction towards the tee. So as the day goes, the grass really grows there, and it lays down towards the tee, and then that slows down the ball, and that's why you don't see a lot of roll. And so that's why the last few years you've just had to bum it kind of over. You're almost like carrying it over this sort of negative push from the grass. And that's why there's that feeling that you really need to carry it about 300 yards to have a chance to kind of go with the par fives and to have decent short irons into the par fours.
So on that note, you mentioned two guys that I don't think belong in that second tier for just the reason you described. Zach Johnson can't be in that second tier, even though he won. He won under the most unique circumstances Augusta's seen in the last 20-some years, temperatures in the 40s and winds up to 20 miles an hour that made every par five a three-shot par five. And the other guy that I was surprised when I was doing my research for this to find out that Matt Kuchar doesn't really hit the ball very far. He's not in the long bomber category, and I would have him outside of that second tier also. The guys that I like in that second tier that I didn't hear you mention, Patrick Reed, Danny Willett, Mark Leishman. Couple few names there. Okay,
that's my second round. So let me give you the second round picks, and maybe you'll feel better. Kevin Kisner, Aiken, South Carolina boy, making his debut at the Masters. Really has been playing very well for a while. Brandon Grace, who's contended in a bunch of majors, especially last year. Rafael Cabrera-Bello, who played very well again at Houston, Patrick Reed, Danny Willett, Brooks Koepka, Andy Sullivan, this Englishman who a lot of people don't know about, really nice player, Bernd Wiesberger, an Austrian, really nice player, contended a PGA, and just to make you happy, I threw in Bryson DeChambeau, although he's playing new irons this week. I never like a guy debuting new irons in a major championship. That's just weird to me.
I agree with you. That in a way is a concession, right? He's an amateur. He has made this commitment. He's saying essentially, I'm not going to win this week. I'm not going to be the first amateur in 80 years, 90 years.
No, not in his mind.
well,
not in his mind.
So this is interesting because. And I can't wait till he breaks through so we can really get some in-depth stories about his background and so forth out to the public. But this guy is held out as a cerebral guy. He has the most unique set of golf clubs in all of professional / high-end amateur golf. He's got a physics background. He has this reputation for rotating out balls because he has a point of view on when the balls get damaged. For a guy with that kind of pedigree, that intellectual acumen, he's going to walk in and attempt something that has never, not once in the history of the four majors, and I have no way of backing this up, been proven out as a legitimate approach, which is to break in a brand new set of golf clubs.
Yeah, it's a bold move, but he makes a lot of bold moves, and he studied the golf course. I just think he's probably going to end up overthinking this a little bit, and there's just too many other players to like who have a little more experience and who know the golf course and who can kind of, again, Phil's going to kind of almost come in under the radar. There's so many players like that. Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler, suddenly kind of quietly coming in, but who's just played beautifully in the major. So I'm excited we have an amateur, if you can call him that at this point, when he's wearing scripted clothes and playing his new company's irons. But that's another story for another day. But let's get to the prop bets because those are kind of fun. So now we've kind of got our first and second round guys. Alex Myers at GolfDigest.com, one of my colleagues, did a fun piece, House. I think you saw it before I did on the just fun prop bets. And I love one of the first ones he threw out that one of the fine casinos in Vegas is offering. The winner's age over-under, and it's set at 30.5 years. Over-under, House.
I love it, and it's really giving me fits because I want to bet a certain way this week. But my heart belongs to a different set of players. I am going to take the over on this prop because I want to root this week for Bubba and for Phil. But I think if I'm going to gamble with money, it's going to be on dudes under 30 and a half. But I on this one, I'm willing to gamble the way that my heart is leading me, and I'm going to take the over.
I probably will too. So your under candidates would include Spieth, McIlroy, Day, Fowler. Your overs would give you Watson, Rose, Scott, Oosthuizen, Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Schwartzel, and Stinson. And I think there's just a little more. Augusta I love that it requires some local knowledge. I think we're going to have some interesting weather, so the wind's going to be in a part of the equation. And I got to interview Adam Scott a little bit yesterday. Sorry, blatant name drop there. But he is so confident right now. He's so calm. And Bubba too. Bubba just took the day off. He didn't even show up to Augusta on Monday. He's feeling that good. And he was in great spirits yesterday, House. He comes out for the drive, chip, and putt. He loves the kids. He loves seeing that. He loves putting on the green jacket. It just takes him to another level. So I think just those two alone on the over. Then you throw in the way Phil could just do like a Nicklaus 86 thing. Although I don't know if that's even a fair comparison since he finished second last year. And then you got the two South Africans. So good. We're in agreement. We're taking the over.
We're taking the over.
You want to call that one in?
We're both old guys, so
yeah,
it fits.
Yeah, yeah. We're anti-millennialists. All right, so who will the winner hug first, excluding their caddy? Child plus 450, parent plus 1,000. We've got the wife girlfriend plus 125, wife holding child plus 165. That could be Bubba's wife holding the second child they adopted, and no hug at plus 1,200. That must be thinking of the South Africans. I don't know.
Well, that's right. I can't remember seeing Schwartzel hug anybody. Although, maybe
no.
Did he hug? I don't remember.
He just shoots animals. That's all. So, yeah.
I'm going. I like no hug.
So yeah,
no hug are the odds that I like the best. I like 12 to 1 on this, and I think it's possible.
Yeah.
That if my long shot Patrick Reed wins, he will just go around with his arms up. He's not going to put his arms down. He's going to walk around with triumphant arms. He's going to have them straight up and not be willing to put his arms down until the green jacket is on his shoulders.
Yeah. Well, all right, we'll see. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a lot of hugging, and I think it's going to be a wife. So, all right, one more prop bet, House, before we get to some fun Twitter questions about Augusta. Winning margin: 1 stroke is at 9-4, 2 strokes 3-1, 3 strokes 5-1, 4+ strokes 9-2. They're not really. They're kind of. That's an odd combination of bets. So 1 stroke and 4+ are the same, but 2 strokes is 3-1, 3 strokes 5-1. These are terrible numbers probably to be throwing out on a podcast, but I feel like this one's just going to be close. I think this is going to be a one-shot win. There's too many people playing too well.
Yeah, I'm just going to take 2 strokes because the odds are slightly better. I'm doing it just for the slightly better payout. But I agree with you. It's going to be. I envision a Masters that's super tight this year.
In the last 10 Masters, only Spieth has been by 4 or more strokes. So the other options have all happened 3 times. It doesn't mention they're a tie in a playoff. I don't know how that works. They're offering some odds on that, but we'll check out Alex Meyer's piece at golfdigest.com. Really good read, a lot of fun. Alex has a lot of fun with the numbers and good stuff like that. So House, let's get to the speed round. Brought to us by our friends at Callaway. And their new XR driver, where fast meets forgiveness. Boeing helped make this driver the fastest one out there, House. You have one in your bag. I don't think we need their help with the speed round. I probably need a little bit of speed off the tee, and the XR is just a beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment. But let's get to some Twitter questions via our many fine followers who we actually asked about 10 days ago now, but we ended up scrapping all the Masters questions for this week. The first one comes from Adam Sarson, whose work you know and know laying up, has a really good podcast. Check it out. Adam asks, besides 11, what hole at Augusta would you change, and what would you do? And he's asking that we only pick one, House. What do you got?
I have been slightly confused by what's going on with 7. It has seemingly changed identity like once every 2 years, and now it's a critical hole because it's a hole that separates the guys that win and can win from the rest of the crowd. It's one of the holes that's kind of a differentiator. The guys who perform best on 7 and then a handful of other holes are the guys that win the tournament. And it's a monster hole. It's a beast hole, and it was not like that 30 years ago when Jack Nicklaus won the 86 Masters. What's going on with 7?
Yeah, they got carried away lengthening it and then planting a bunch of trees. And when you look at a golf course routing, you want it to have an ebb and flow. And it's like any kind of a script and a story. You want to have moments that are comic relief, and you want to have moments that are serious. And a golf course, you need comic relief holes. You need dramatic, hard, compelling holes. You need all these different elements. And the 7th was sort of this kind of cool in-between hole that you could really easily make 5, and you could also pretty easily make a birdie. And now it's just like this hang on for dear life thing. So that's a great pick, House. But I'm obsessed with the back nine. And I have to go to the swarm of trees they planted between the 15th and the 17th. I was just out there today. And, remember, they created this golf course to make it look like the old course and to feel like it. So, like, you could hit in these super wide fairways, which drives a lot of people nuts. But that was the point. And the 17th green has all these cool angles that have all been shut off by all the tree planting. And so I would just blow out the trees on 17 to answer Adam's question and make that fairway one again with the 15th hole. And it would make both holes more fun. The guys just can't quite attack those two holes like they used to. They're so defensive. All right, this is the 30th anniversary, House. Excuse me, the 30th anniversary of the 86 Masters, 20th anniversary of Greg Norman's collapse. Howard Reifs, excellent commentator on Twitter and a great student of golf course design also. He wants to know, Norman's collapse at the 96 Masters, is that the biggest choke in golf, or Jean Van de Velde at the 1990 Open Championship when he threw up on the 18th at Carnoustie?
So my answer is Van de Velde, because he had the tournament won, and I might not have thought of this, but for the fact that he actually did it. He could make 6 with a putter, and he demonstrated his ability to do so on video. I can't remember what program, whether it was a 60 Minutes piece. I don't remember where I saw it. Maybe it was like Real Sports, speaking of our friends at HBO, where he took a putter and made a 6 from tee to green, playing at exactly the length that was and the setup that was in place when he gacked away the Open Championship. Also, by far, to me, the most heartbreaking, because is the story of an unheralded player finding that lightning in a bottle for 4 days, and he found it for 71 holes, and couldn't get 72 in the books.
Yeah, no, and he had it going, and then it's one hole. Norman had a lot of time to think about it. Sam Weinman, the editor at golfdigest.com, has a new book coming out this year, and they put a chapter up on our website at golfdigest.com, and Sam has some really interesting insights into Norman's collapse. And one of the things that Norman talks about is just he wasn't feeling good at all about his swing. He had a business situation that was bothering him. There are all sorts of things going on, and I know people like to pick on the way he collapsed, and Greg Norman's a choker and this and that, but there's such a difference between having all the time to think about what could go wrong all day before you tee off at 3 o'clock. People forget that. And then going out there, and obviously Nick Faldo shoots 67, and it was a long kind of slow drip sort of collapse, whereas Van de Velde's was just a brutal, mindless, just disaster and kind of a freak show. And I don't like to pick on anybody choking in golf, because these people are putting themselves out there in a way that they can be so easily humiliated, and they're so good at what they do, and I just never feel great about calling it choking. I mean, that's what it is, and Johnny calls it that. But Norman's never bothered me that much, because also, even if he just shot 73, I believe, or 74, he would have lost to Faldo. So Faldo shot 67, and nobody remembers that. Nobody talks about it. We had a conference call last week, and Jim Nantz kind of like brought it up to remind everybody, hey, Nick Faldo's on the line. He won 3 Masters, and feel free to ask him a question about winning on the in 1996. So last question, House, from Mark Wittig. Do you like the traditional hole locations?
I do. I love them.
And do you know what that means? I think you do. Yeah.
I think I do. Maybe I'll let you explain if I get it wrong. But it's part of the Augusta tradition. Seeing the course every single year.
Unlike any other.
Unlike any other. Hello, friends. I enjoy seeing the competition competed over the same kind of setting, even though we just had this conversation about how the folks running the joint have changed certain holes over the years. The pin placements are consistent, and I like sort sort of my brain processing what has to happen for the players to be successful at various positions, and I like that consistency. It enhances my viewing experience.
It does, and it's sort of where they got in trouble when they started drifting from some of them, and they probably learned a pretty harsh lesson on that. And the one thing I would say that I like is the traditional locations, but when they throw in one or two on the back nine that are a little bit different than normal, and just to spice it up, because you don't want it to become too predictable. Interestingly, Bryson DeChambeau borrowed a bunch of DVDs of recent Masters from Jim Nantz, and feels like he's charted out where every hole location is going to be, which is kind of fun. He's going to come in the press center. Hopefully we're going to be able to ask him about that. And that kind of predictability is almost, it's kind of cool in that a player could overthink it, but it's also a little bit weird in that you do want to have some spontaneity, some surprise. And to answer Mark's question, my bigger issue is, like, in recent years, essentially the club has made the course very hard for 3 days, and then they try to flip a switch and let the guys go at all those pins, House, that every viewer who's watched the Masters knows. And it's very hard to tell a player to put them in a defensive mode for 3 days and kind of slap them around and make them feel bad, and then go, okay, Sunday now, put on a show for us. And I think the last 2 years, Fred Ridley, who heads that committee, has kind of backed off those first 3 days and allowed the guys to make a few more birdies and not feel so beaten down by Sunday. So that would be my one quibble, kind of with the way they do their traditional approach, if that makes some sense.
Yeah. The Sunday theater is the whole point of the traditional holes, and I understand your quibble, but we still inevitably, invariably get our Sunday back nine roars, and we even had a little bit with Jordan last year. Even if guys are if there's some distance between players, the traditional hole placements do produce on the back nine the drama that I think the club intends and that TV loves. Yeah.
Spieth didn't really feel like he had sealed the victory until his tee shot on 18, I believe he said. And that's kind of what they want. They want it to at least feel like there's, even though he ended up winning by 4, they want there to be some sense that the players can make a run, and I think that's great. And like I said, they learned their lesson. They kind of got a little away from that, and it was unfortunate. So, House, you're in Augusta. Before we wrap up here,
I'm here.
What are you looking forward to out on the golf course?
The first thing I'm looking forward.
What are you eating? I want to know what's on the agenda food wise.
Yeah, so that's the first thing I'm going to do is walk to the food station. The one I like it's a little bit off the beaten path is over by 7, because it allows you to get a couple delicious pimento cheese sandwiches, then walk up to the back of the green at 7 and watch the balls come in. And now because guys, the hole is so long, guys are hitting longer irons in there. They can't hit the super high soft ones, and it's a fun vantage point to have with a couple sandwiches and a delicious domestic beer, which will only run you $4. So that's where I will go first. And I have not been down here for practice rounds, so I have no expectations. I don't know what to expect, and I don't know exactly where to go other than to that food stand, which is where I'm going to go post haste as soon as I hit the gate, I mean.
And even better news, there's a bathroom very close. So depending on how many pimento cheese sandwiches, you've got that to kind of fall back on.
Well, I won't have any problem with the cheese sandwiches. It'll be the beers.
Okay, it'll be the beers. Now, are you a dessert guy?
I can be under the right circumstances. I've been told there's something to look forward to. I'm interested in you telling me a little bit more about it.
Well, I did tease last week. Chairman Payne has introduced a Georgia peach ice cream sandwich. It's peach ice cream with 2 cookies on either side, kind of a sugar cookie. And I feel he deserves some sort of award, some sort of recognition, maybe a plaque on the golf course, because it's pretty unbelievable. And the thing about it, House, is the ice cream. It's not it's not a hockey puck. You know, when you get it, it's ready to go. You don't have to sit there and wait for the thing to thaw out, and it just it's so good. So keep an eye out. They're not at every stand, I don't believe. So they do provide them in the media center, and it is really rather cruel to walk by that little frozen thing every day and kind of think I could eat about 4 of these. Not a healthy.
We're recording. It's a Monday. We're recording this. It's nearly 8:00 at night. I didn't get a chance to really eat anything all day today. You should see my face right now. I mouthed the OMFG as you described that cookie sandwich. That means I have to save some room for that, and I'll be goddamned if I'm not going to eat 3 pimentos and 3 egg salads tomorrow. So I got to figure out a way. Maybe I'll drink 1 less beer so that I have room for that ice cream sandwich. That is spectacular what you just described, Jeff Shackelford.
Okay, well, we do need to wrap this up because we need to get food in you. Tate needs to see the national championship game. And we need to talk about a few things to remind people that they need to check up on before we leave this. First of all, before we talk about our sponsors, 86 Masters House, we talked about it last week. Masters.com for 1 week only is streaming it, the full 3-hour broadcast. So people, please check it out. The club will be looking at how many people check it out. It should probably end up on YouTube, but you will not regret it. It will get you so pumped for this Masters, you'll be bouncing off the walls.
Power of the Shack House. We asked for it. We begged for it. We were on our knees for it last week, and bing, bang, boom. Thank you, Masters. Thank you.
I wouldn't dare take credit. All right. A couple of reminders from our good friends at Callaway. All right, you can do it. I'm the one who has to go in the media center, so I can't take credit. Our friends at Callaway have partnered with Vice Sports. They've got a great video up right now of Lydia Ko, another one of Andres Gonzalez, and another of Jamie Sedlowski. But there's a great one debuting with Kevin Kisner this week. And when he pulls off that shocking win as kind of the almost local boy from Aiken, you're going to want to check this out. He's had a meteoric rise, almost won the Players last year, played so clutch down the stretch. He's now number 4 in the FedEx Cup, and I know, House, how you study those FedEx Cup standings. So Vice went around with him for a day off in Aiken, played some casual golf, watched him drink beer, gambled on the round, and just watched the Tour Pro get away from him all. So check it out, CallawayGolf.com/Vice Sports. Really cool content there. And, of course, our friends at DraftKings, we thank them so much for sponsoring the show. First golf major of the year starts this week, and you can play 1 week fantasy golf for free at DraftKings.com. So hurry to DraftKings.com now to choose your golfers and play for free with promo code HOUSE, all caps, HOUSE. Enter promo code HOUSE to play for free now, only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com. And House, one more thing from our friends at Callaway. They didn't ask us to mention this, but I have to mention it. They have a great podcast up at CallawayGolf.com /Augusta 2016, where there's all sorts of great content, but especially there's a chat with Tom Watson. You gotta listen to the Millennials, AJ and Chad, #Chad, talk to him. This is Tom Watson's final Masters, which is kind of getting lost in all this talk this week. So check that out. And House, you are taking over the Callaway Twitter account at Callaway Golf at Callaway Golf. Wednesday at 10 a.m., I hear. Is that correct?
It is correct. Somebody has made a grievous and grave error in judgment, a big mistake, but I will be in charge of the at Callaway Golf Twitter feed for at least an hour. I don't know how much longer than that, but please come loaded with questions.
That'll be enough, yeah.
Yeah. You're right about that. That will be enough.
Ask him your questions, folks. Ask him about, how his dinner was tonight, how he finally gets to eat, and ask him all about his food plan for Augusta. You can view the chat at CallawayGolf.com /Augusta 2016. And don't forget to check out all the great podcasts at Channel 33. And, of course, the Bill Simmons Podcast. We thank Bill for joining us today. And we're so proud to be a part of the network and on the BS podcast this week. Finally, follow House and I on Twitter. He's House from DC. I'm Jeff Shack without the K. Or just Google Jeff and golf, and my website will come up. And you can find out all sorts of good stuff there, including my lowdown on Masters merchandise, House. You're going to want to check that out before you go spend a little money and make a little donation to the Augusta National Golf Club. And on that note, Everybody, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week when we'll have a new Masters champ, somebody in a green jacket. Should be an awesome week. Hope you enjoy all the coverage. Thanks.
Check house!